The film opens in an empty warehouse where four female students, Gigi, Yuechi, Meitang, and Chao, are bullying a mute girl named Yutong. At that moment, Yutong had to endure terrible abuse as they cover her from head to toe with glue. In short, another group of students arrives with a security guard to help Yutong. However, because Gigi is the principal's daughter, the guard is reluctant to intervene, instead instructing the other students to leave. Unfortunately, the bullying intensifies, with Meitang inflicting physical harm, including forcing a stick into Yutong's mouth and punching her stomach. Not satisfied with this cruelty, they even glue Yutong's mouth shut. Though she tries to stay strong, tears finally stream down her face. Meanwhile, a woman who works as a school cleaner is seen searching for her child, who is, in fact, Yutong's mother, Lehon. When she finds her daughter pinned against the wall, Lehon breaks down, helplessly embracing her daughter with her eyes reflecting profound sorrow and pain. Later that evening, three of the bullies, returning from school in the rain, decide to seek shelter in an abandoned building in the middle of a palm oil plantation. At that moment, they smoke freely and scribble graffiti on the walls until they suddenly realize that one of them, Yuechi, has disappeared. Frightened, Meitang and Chao search for her, only to find Yuechi dead at the hands of a man in a dark coat. Terrified, the two try to escape. Meitang quickly climbs to the roof, only to find herself trapped, and the man in the coat attacks her. Later, Chao runs into the middle of the plantation, hiding under a tree and attempting to call the police. However, she realizes too late that the man in the coat is already standing behind her. The scene shifts back to Yutong, who is helping her mother pick oranges on the rooftop of their apartment. Unbeknownst to them, someone is secretly recording their activity. The next day, Lehon distributes orange juice to the teachers and the principal, proudly sharing that the oranges are from her husband's farm. Soon after, news about the disappearance of Yuechi, Chao, and Meitang reaches the school, prompting the police to arrive and question Yutong, as she was the last person to have interacted with the missing girls. Seeing Yutong's fear, Lehon steps in, assuring the authorities that she will speak with her daughter at home, hoping Yutong will feel safe enough to share more when she is calm. Meanwhile, Gigi, also being interrogated, calmly tells the police that she was unwell the day before and provides a medical note as proof. Later that afternoon, Lehon and Yutong meet their new neighbor, Zaifu, who turns out to be Lehon's colleague at the school. Elsewhere, Gigi goes to an abandoned bus, a place where she and her friends, Chao, Yuechi, and Meitang, used to gather. Unaware of her friends' deaths, Gigi is soon confronted by the mysterious man in the coat. In a desperate attempt to defend herself, she grabs a fire extinguisher to fight back. During this time, she tries to escape through the back door of the bus, only to find it blocked from the outside as the man draws closer. Not long after, at school, students are seen preparing for a charity event. The principal steps up on stage to inaugurate the event by pulling a ceremonial rope. Unexpectedly, when the rope is pulled, Gigi appears lifeless, wrapped in plastic, shocking the entire student body into panic and chaos. Amid the turmoil, Lehon rushes to find Yutong, who has suddenly disappeared. The principal then reports the incident to the police, suspecting two potential culprits, a man in a coat who secretly records students, and Zaifu, who now works as the school gardener. It was revealed that Zaifu, a former tsunami survivor who lost his daughter in a tragic accident, and the principal finds him suspicious due to his apparent interest in the school's female students ever since his daughter's death. Meanwhile, Lehon continues her search for Yutong by checking a neighbor's CCTV footage. However, she fails to spot Yutong and only sees Zaifu loading an old refrigerator into his vehicle. Concerned, Lehon goes to his room, where she finds Yutong's watch and starts piecing together what might have happened. With this finding, she rings Zaifu's doorbell repeatedly, but there's no response, so she climbs in through the window. Once inside, she finds no trace of Yutong, and just then, Zaifu returns. Lehon narrowly escapes detection when Miss Su, the apartment owner, arrives and calls for Zaifu to ask for assistance. Eventually, Lehon manages to escape and unexpectedly encounters the police chief, Guodong, who has been looking for her. Guodong initially suspects Lehon, but upon noticing her injured hand, tends to her wound. During this time, Lehon takes the opportunity to ask Guodong for help in finding her missing daughter. Hearing her plea, Guodong's suspicions of Lehon begin to fade. Not long after, they return to check the CCTV footage, where Lehon becomes suspicious of a large plastic bag discarded by Zaifu. Together, Lehon and Guodong race to track down the bag, which has already been collected by a garbage truck. Fortunately, they manage to catch up, and Lehon immediately starts sifting through the trash. During this frantic search, Lehon finds one of her daughter's shoes, and at that moment, she spots a man in a coat and chases after him. Fortunately, the man is stopped by a car and finally apprehended. When his mask is removed, it's revealed that the man is Wang Dong, Guodong's son. Later, at the police station, they examine Wang Dong's camera, only to discover footage of girls he had been spying on. Shockingly, Wang Dong even knows the color of Lehon's undergarments, as he has been secretly watching her. It turns out Wang Dong harbored feelings for Lehon, who has been a widow since her husband left long ago. Outraged by his son's actions, Guodong beats him on the spot. It's revealed that Wang Dong had a habit of filming girls since childhood, with Guodong even publicly reprimanding him in the past. Soon, another officer finds a recording from Wang Dong's camera, showing Yutong being forced into Zaifu's room. Additionally, they also uncover footage from the past of Lehon striking Yutong after she was caught wandering. Since this was considered abuse, Lehon is taken into custody. At the same time, the police arrive at Zaifu's apartment to conduct a search. Not long after, while Lehon is still in custody, a man named Mr. Fong arrives for questioning. Noticing that Mr. Fong has a key identical to one Zaifu had dropped in his room earlier, Lehon inquires about it. Mr. Fong then explains that it's the key to the recreation room at the Charity Foundation. Without hesitation, Lehon seizes the opportunity to escape by taking a police car, heading directly to the Charity Foundation's recreation room. Upon arriving, she finds the remains of the 3 girls who bullied Yutong, their bodies now left for the guard dogs. Elsewhere, Miss Su is with Zaifu when they are both shocked to hear a radio announcement declaring him as a fugitive. In a sudden turn, Zaifu ties up Miss Su. He then heads to the Foundation building and enters a room, reminiscing about his past. It was revealed that Zaifu once had a daughter named Huijun, who was mentally disabled and was Yutong's close friend. Later, on her birthday, Huijun asked her father to take her on a boat ride, and Zaifu had promised to fulfill her wish. Sometime later, during Huijun's birthday, the bullies Gigi, Meitang, Chao, and Yuechi lure her to the school rooftop under the pretense of giving her a birthday gift. Instead, they make her wear a rose crown which is covered in thorns and record the scene on their phones. Their cruelty escalates as they cut Huijun's hair and order her to stand on a glass roof, threatening to throw her beloved pet pigeon off the edge if she refuses. Shortly after, Yutong arrives and sees her friends suffering. Yutong secretly prepares scissors to free Huijun, but is stopped by Lehon, who sees Gigi, the principal's daughter, among the bullies. Afraid for her career, Lehon tries to pull Yutong away, but she pleads to help her friend. Finally, Lehon decides to return alone to help Huijun. However, as she approaches, the bullies panic and flee, dropping their phones, resulting in Huijun tragically falls from the glass rooftop. At that moment, Yutong can only watch her friend, helpless, tears streaming down her face. Some time later, one of the bullies' phones mysteriously ends up in Huijun's locker. When Zaifu discovers it, he sees everything that happened to his daughter and is filled with a burning desire for revenge. In the present day, Zaifu restrains an elderly teacher named Juezhong, the most respected figure in the school for his wisdom. At that moment, Juezhong unexpectedly kneels and apologizes to Zaifu. Juezhong then reveals that, on the day of the tragedy, he had been at the scene with his students and witnessed Gigi and her friends tormenting Huijun. Although Huijun was still alive after the fall, neither the principal nor Juezhong called for help. When Zaifu arrived, pleading for an ambulance, they all stood by in silence, allowing Huijun to die slowly. Their inaction was because the perpetrators were the principal's daughter and her friends. Before finding the phone that revealed his daughter's last moments, Zaifu had sought answers from others about her death. However, the school's CCTV footage had mysteriously been destroyed, and when Zaifu asked Juezhong, who whom he believed to be wise, he pretended not to know anything and walked away, leaving Zaifu with no answers. Zaifu even appealed to the police for help, but they dismissed his daughter's death as doing the unthinkable, having already been bribed by the principal. All of these betrayals turned Zaifu's grief into a bitter revenge against Juezhong, whose silence proved that his respectability vanished when his career and financial security were at stake. Shortly after, a confrontation erupts as Lehon suddenly attacks Zaifu from behind. They struggle, and Lehon demands to know where her daughter is. However, Zaifu coldly replies that her daughter is buried in a small orange grove on the rooftop of their apartment building. Enraged by this revelation, Lehon attacks him, leading to a fierce fight. Despite this, Zaifu seizes an opportunity to escape, taking Juezhong with him in a car. Meanwhile, Miss Su, still in the car, manages to free herself from her restraints and revives Lehon, who had been knocked unconscious. Once she regains consciousness, they immediately pursue Zaifu. During the chase, Miss Su becomes terrified by Lehon's reckless driving and asks to get out, but Lehon refuses, leading them to lose control of the vehicle. Both cars eventually crash. As Lehon regains her senses, she demands Yutong's whereabouts again, but Zaifu gives the same answer, prompting Lehon to knock him out in frustration. The scene shifts to 5 years earlier. Lehon, who is working as an accountant, returns home to her second husband, Baolin. Suspecting her of infidelity because of her appearance, Baolin becomes violent. Frightened, Lehon attempts to call her mother, but Baolin throws her out of the room, tossing her spare key down to the lower floor. Seeing this, Lehon rushes downstairs to retrieve it, and in the process, also finds a coconut knife. Back in the present, Zaifu is taken to the police station, where he's met by an outraged crowd. During his interrogation, the police present evidence, including a recording showing him abducting Yutong. At that moment, Guodong questions Zaifu about Yutong's location, and once again he insists that she is buried on the apartment rooftop. Following this lead, the police bring Zaifu to the rooftop with tracking dogs. As they dig, they indeed uncover bones, but upon further examination, the remains are identified as those of a male, suggesting they could not have belonged to someone recently deceased. The investigation uncovers further evidence, revealing the grim truth that the bones belong to Baolin, Yutong's stepfather, whom Lehon buried on the rooftop 5 years prior. It turns out the oranges Lehon has proudly shared with everyone, known for their delicious taste, have been nourished by her late husband's remains. This is why she has always boasted that the oranges were grown by her husband. After confirming that the bones belong to Baolin, the police again question Zaifu about Yutong's whereabouts. However, Zaifu calmly replied that Yutong was now free. Shortly after, residents and reporters managed to break onto the rooftop. Feeling that his mission was complete, Zaifu chose to do the unthinkable in front of them all. Some time later, Guodong was called in by Wang Dong, who voluntarily handed over one last, crucial recording. Guodong then went to visit Lehon in the detention ward and showed her the recording. It revealed an event from years prior when Lehon returned home from work to find Yutong in the bathroom, bleeding after being assaulted by her stepfather, Baolin. As Baolin forced Lehon out of the room, Yutong quietly grabbed a pair of scissors, intending to protect her mother. When Baolin, entranced by Yutong's innocent face, tried to approach her, Yutong suddenly stabbed him, killing him. It was finally revealed that Yutong, not Lehon, was responsible for Baolin's death. Later that night, Lehon had buried Baolin. After watching the recording, Lehon begged the police to destroy it and let her take the blame, as no mother could bear to see her child go to prison, regardless of their faults. Initially, Guodong refused, but Lehon's relentless pleas eventually persuaded him. Understanding the bond of a parent, Guodong destroyed the evidence. Meanwhile, it was discovered that Yutong had been hidden inside the broken refrigerator that Zaifu transported far away. This was why Zaifu claimed Yutong was now free, as he already knew she was responsible for Baolin's death. To protect her, Zaifu had hidden Yutong in the refrigerator and taken her far from anyone who could harm her. In the film's closing scenes, it's revealed that Yutong was the one who placed the phone with the bullying footage of Huijun, allowing Zaifu to learn the truth despite the principal hiding the CCTV evidence. This was why Zaifu chose not to harm Yutong. Additionally, the supposed kidnapping of Yutong had, in fact, been staged as she was aware she was being recorded by Wangdong. However, in the final scene, Yutong is shown in a juvenile detention center. Strangely, she is singing a surprise, as everyone had always thought she was mute. Moral lesson from the story: sometimes, the sweetest oranges have the sourest secrets. Don't just eat them without asking where they came from. Also, maybe don't bully someone who's got a mom with a taste for revenge in a rooftop garden.